I'm sitting down with Bhavesh Nathoo today, the brilliant mind behind 3D Measure Me. And this is a body scanning app that's flipping the script on how we track progress. So as you know, weight loss is not just about weight loss alone. It's about seeing changes in the real time in 3D from your home and using the visual feedback to stay inspired, which all my clients seem to be doing and loving. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump in with Bhavesh how this technology pairs beautifully with Metabolic Balance and how it supports both clients and coaches and how it's helping people finally see what the scale has been hiding behind all along. So are you ready to get into this a little bit further, Bhavesh?
Sounds awesome, Lisa. Thank you.
I know. Imagine the person who actually has created this. Oh my gosh, it's you.
Goodness.
I love it. So Bhavesh, let's just get this really clear. You are in Perth and you're a local guy and you've created this amazing app. So you're not somewhere remote and goodness knows where. You are a gorgeous, West Australian who's doing this amazing work. How cool is this?
I know, it's absolutely awesome, man. I think a lot of people, we faced a lot of difficulties because a lot of people just thought, oh, you're in WA, what do they know about, where we initially started fashion or technology and all those sorts of things. It's like, if you know about mining, that's fine, you're in WA, you belong here, but anything other than that, people just didn't get it. And now it's like we're slowly changing the script and there's a lot of great companies coming out of WA who are doing really exciting new things, which will become the future of WA.
That is so exciting. And I was so blessed to have met you through a colleague. So I know you've changed my world and my clients' world, being remote and just the trick of it all. So let's get into this a little bit further. So I've got a few questions as I do, just a bit of a thoughtful process on being able to get the best out of all your amazing knowledge, Bhavesh. So this body composition tracking has always been a challenge for people on a weight loss journey. This is my experience. So what inspired the creation of 3D Measure Me, and how does it shift the focus from just weight on the scale to something much more empowering?
So we actually started in a completely different direction. So my background's in fashion, and I actually started this because we're having so many issues with the returns, with the online shopping and things like that. So that's where we kind of started from. And we figured out that, okay, we actually need to get accurate body measurements because people didn't know how to do it. Now, while we're doing that and we're building the technology in the back there, my wife actually had a personal trainer. And the very first thing the personal trainer did was like, okay, let's take some photos. I'm going to take all these measurements, wrote it down on a piece of paper, gave it to her, and said, right, every week I want you to do these same measurements and write down on this piece of paper exactly what it is next to this. My wife was like, okay, yep, that sounds easy enough. I'll do that. Tried it the very first week, took a 5 measurement and she took 3 measurements and there was a 5 centimeter variance. And she's like, well, what am I supposed to do here? I don't know where I'm supposed to do this and how it's supposed to work and that. And that's when she spoke to me and showed me what she was doing. And I was like, well, that's kind of what we're building here as well, because we're doing the whole body measurement thing. I was like, we could potentially integrate. And that's where we kind of shifted and said, okay, maybe we can start actually looking at health and fitness as a first target market because they're actually using it. And we started speaking to personal trainers, naturopaths, dietitians, you as well from Metabolic Balance. And we started figuring out what is it that people actually needed from it. And we found it was very similar. They all wanted to be able to track measurements so they could see and get accurate measurements. They also wanted to be able to see the avatars and to see the shape changes in that. A lot of them, what we found was that weight, a lot of people didn't like using weight, especially like your professionals, health and fitness, like your personal trainers, because as soon as you mention weight, people immediately feel judged or labeled that they're overweight or obese, whether they are or aren't. And that leads to anxiety, depression, eating disorders, but not doing anything about it also creates bigger issues like your chronic heart disease, chronic disease like heart disease, diabetes, strokes. And that's why they're trying to focus on tracking body centimeters instead. because that actually removes that whole stigma associated with weight. Because if I ask people, oh, what's your weight? People immediately go, oh, God, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to say that. But if I tell someone, oh, your waist is 98 centimeters, we could probably work to lose a few centimeters in there. They're like, okay, I accept that. That's fine, we can do that. And the thing is also, when you start tracking not just weight, but your centimeters, it's actually a lot more responsive to change because it takes into account your body composition. So if you think about when people are, beginning of the year, New Year's resolution, oh, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to exercise at the gym, I'm going to get super fit, I'm going to lose all the excess kilos and that. They'll do that for, they'll go all out for the first 2 weeks. And they'll hop on the scale before so they know what their goal is and that. They'll eat healthy, they'll exercise every day or 5 times a week type thing. And at the end of the week or 2 weeks, they'll hop back on the scale and see, oh, all I did was I lost half a kilo. And, it's totally disheartening for them. But what that doesn't actually show and reflect is that they may have lost half a kilo only, but their body composition has actually started changing. So with all that diet, with that exercise, they've started losing fat, they've started putting on muscle. And because your muscle is denser than fat, it's actually heavier. So what happens is, they've lost half a kilo, but they could have lost, say, for example, a kilo of fat, but they put on half a kilo of muscle. So now the net change is only half a kilo, but that's not reflected on the scale. But what's nice is when they start tracking centimeters, you can say, oh, I lost half a kilo, but if I look at my abdomen measurement, suddenly, it's down a centimeter or 2 centimeters. And as soon as you say that, people look and it's like, oh, I can picture that. That's how much I lost off my waist already, and it's kind of exciting for them. And that helps keep them motivated and accountable because they can actually track those changes and see them on a, I wouldn't do daily, but, on a weekly basis or fortnightly basis and that sort of thing. So they can actually see and they get that very quick instant feedback rather than you do one at the start, one at the end, and, that's all you get. And then in between is all the guess and hope for the best.
That is so true, because obviously what I see is that the 3D Measure Me is actually like a feedback loop. It actually gives you real time, real understanding, and it's a very much a visual one. So it's so empowering to someone who's following a personalized nutrition program like Metabolic Balance, because you're getting such a all-inclusive, holistic look, and it's not just about the scales, is it? It's never just about the scales. Yeah,
that's it. There's a lot of data that's all hidden in the back there. But people just don't have access to it because it's been too hard until now.
Until now. Good. I like that because it is until now, isn't it? Now that you're stepping into the realm of reality. So just a question that I do know people ask with apps that use body scans, privacy is often a top concern. What security protocols are in place in order to protect user data? And can you explain what information is actually stored or shared? Because when I remember I was first telling my clients, they're like, oh, I have to take a photo of myself. There'll be an actual image of my physical self. So can you clarify that? Because I know that has been an issue and you're able to totally remove this concern.
Yeah, so that's one of the big concerns I think that most people have. So firstly, we'll start with all of our servers are based in Australia and we use Microsoft Azure servers. So, they've got the highest level of security and compliance globally. So we're really good in terms of that. But what happens as well is that once you start taking your photos, all that data is encrypted and uploaded to our servers. It's processed automatically by our servers. There's no human intervention, no people checking up on it or seeing anything in there. Processed by our servers, your images are used to create our 3D avatars. And then what happens is we've actually got a system which automatically looks at any user-generated images and deletes it once the process is complete. So because we don't need it. We're not actually there to try and just gather images and store them and use them for alternative purposes or anything like that. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to actually get the avatars and to get the measurements and to actually help people use those measurements and understand what can be done with those measurements. So The images that we get are initially, the bare minimum that we have to have, basically, and then it just automatically deletes it, because we don't want that. It's a high risk for us, and we're sure that, or I'm 100% sure that most of our clients do not want that being stored as well. So it's easier for us just to get rid of it. It's less risky for us. And then in terms of sharing, as you asked, one of the options we do have with our app is that you can actually share your data with like your metabolic balance coach, your personal trainers, with other people. But the only data that is actually shared is your name, your avatar, and your measurements, nothing else. And that's the thing, because we don't actually store a lot of that we don't really store much other data. So we keep the bare minimum, but we keep the essential stuff, and that's what we allow people to share in there, which makes it nice and simple and easy for us as well.
And it does, because I know that clients have shared their data with me, and it's just been very clear and concise, and it's literally been the bare essentials that I've needed to have, which has been brilliant. And it's only obviously if they choose to allow it to be shared that I see it. If I don't get, if they don't share it, then I don't get to see it. So that's their private information by themselves.
Exactly.
So
that's probably one important point as well, that we make sure any of the clients create their account on their own phone and create their profile themselves, and they share it with their coach, because that means that the client is actually in control of the data, and they can actually choose who they share it with. So they can choose to remove that sharing at any time, or if the person's no longer a client of that coach, the coach can simply delete it and it's gone. It's nice and easy for everyone.
Yeah, I love that. That just is music to my ears. What I do want to talk about also is the ease of use, Bhavesh. Not everyone is tech savvy like myself, and especially some of my clients who are starting their health journey. So what makes 3D Measure Me user-friendly for people who just want something simple and reliable and just very easy to use?
Yeah, look, that whole user experience is something that we started dealing with right from the get-go, and we wanted to make it as easy for people as possible, but still able to get the level of accuracy that we needed, not only for health and fitness, but also for the future planning for fashion and things like that. So at the moment, we've got a whole lot of prompts on that within our app, which will tell you, and we've highlighted keywords and that, so people know exactly what it is they need to look at. But there's a fantastic video which is linked in the app. Watch that. It tells you all the information you need. It's also written there in the instructions on the tutorial page. It's nice and easy. We guide people as well. So when it's taking photos, we've got a little outline of a person in there, and you basically stand in there. You don't have to be exact, just roughly in there, and it'll make it nice and easy for you. And we're constantly checking problems that people are having, and any issues that we find that are coming through, and we're looking at ways at how we can improve that as well to make it easier for the user to actually generate the avatar. But essentially, most of the stuff, it's all really simple stuff, that we're asking people to do. There's nothing really complicated or rocket science about it, nothing difficult. It's simple things like wear fitted clothing, because obviously if you're wearing big baggy clothes, it can't work out the shape of your body, and it's going to assume the clothing is it. So, it's going to make you bigger than you actually are. If you've got, long hair, tie it up in a ponytail or a bun. And we do that because then we want the neck measurement, because that actually helps feed into our body fat percentage when we use it. We tell people stand in the A pose. It's just the one pose, which is standing up straight, legs shoulder width apart, arms just slightly out to the side. And that's it. And you just turn 90 degrees from front, side, back, and side. And that's it. You enter your height and your weight afterwards. Weight is still optional, but especially for the metabolic balance client, it's a very useful thing to try and track, so you can actually see your progress and how it's going in that. And, there's a few other things, like if you're standing and the phone is, you're looking at the phone screen, it's that big, and you're standing that far away, so you're tiny on the screen, the accuracy area is going to be absolutely huge. So, we want you to take up most of the screen where you're in there. Make sure your whole body's visible, including your feet. And we've got the little outline which shows you, and the outline's got the feet on there. So make sure your feet are visible, because otherwise it's just going to try and fit it outside or, at the bottom, and it'll make your legs look short and stumpy or things like that. So, it's simple things like make sure you go against a contrasting background. Because if you wear a white t-shirt, say, or white clothing, and then you're standing against a white wall, you're making it hard for the computer. People will find it hard as well to distinguish it when you're looking at photos. So if people find it difficult, the computer is going to find it just as difficult to actually work it out. We're not using infrared or LiDAR or anything, because a lot of phones don't have access to that. If it was available for every phone, we'd do that, but it's just not readily available to people, and we want everyone to be able to use this.
I love that.
And we've also got in there 2 options. So people can do it. If you're with a friend, you can do it, you can get them to take the photos for you. Or if you're by yourself, it's really easy. We've got a called a selfie mode in there. You just select it, put your phone on a table like that, put a water bottle behind it, and so it stands upright, and then you just press start, and it'll go through and do everything, and it'll guide you through. It's got verbal instruction and written instruction, so nice and easy for you to use and do.
Well, what we'll do is put a link also down in the comments as well, so people can have a little look at it as well, just to get a bit of an idea and have a play with it as well. So in regards to that, is there a cost involved?
So there is. The app is completely free to download. You can download it. You can try it to create your first avatar. You can replace that avatar anytime you want, all completely free. If you do want to get the profile history tracking, so you want to track your measurements and your weight and see all the different avatars and as you progress over time, there is a charge of $1.50 US per profile per month. We've kept that extremely low, just so that as many people as possible can use it to help improve their health. So $1.50 US is roughly about $2.50 Australian a month, given the current exchange rates at the moment. But just to put that in perspective, if you go to the gym and you use those body composition scanners, every time you do one of those scans, it costs you $35. And that varies. Some of them go up to about $60 as well. We're doing this, for $1.50 US per month, and you can scan as many times as you'd like. The other nice thing is that if you're sharing your profile with your personal trainer or your coach or something like that, assuming you've had the discussion with them, they will end up paying for that $1.50, but both of you will get access to that full profile history tracking. And then when they stop being your coach or your personal trainer or whatever it is, they just delete the profile, and then you've got the option if you want to keep that history or get rid of it. And it goes. So it's all in your control what you can do with it.
Nice. Yeah, lots of flexibility, and $1.50 US a month is very doable, especially when we're comparing tech like the DEXAs and the in-body scans, yeah? Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
And just in regards to that, the accuracy in comparison to those, obviously we know measuring tape, and you've experienced that with me. You know exactly when I've done some measurements, and you've told me your 3D Measure Me, and I'm like, yeah, that's why I do use 3D Measure Me, because it's accurate.
That's the thing. Okay, firstly, let's start with the measuring tape. So if you put 5 experts in a room and told them to measure the same person to get, say, like a chest measurement, all 5 of them, and these I'm talking about top experts, would measure, they'd do it, they'd get a close result, it wouldn't be the same. Every single one of them would be different. And the reason being that when you're using a tape measure, you're trying to work it out so that it's completely parallel to the ground. The front, it may look parallel, but as you go to the side, what you'll see, it'll actually start drooping a bit. Or if it's not perfectly straight, all of that impacts the measurement. And if it's drooping a bit like that, it's actually going to drop the measurement. So and if you're going down about 1 centimeter, that would create like a 6 centimeter variance in your circumference, which is absolutely huge when you're doing, when you're trying to keep track of body measurements and things like that. But it's also not only that, it's if you pull the tape measure too tight, you start compressing the skin, and that impacts body measurement. And there's so many things, and that's, experts are doing. If you're trying to do it yourself at home, even if you're looking in the mirror, I guarantee you there's probably going to be at least a 10 centimeter variance from what it should be. And that's where it's kind of nice for us, because we can automate that whole process. Because we've got the avatar, we can pose it exactly how we want. We can make it stand, so that it's perfectly straight, correct any posture issues, anything like that. We get it completely straight, and then we can take that measurement, and because it's on the surface, it's computerized, it's on the surface of our avatar. So there's no measuring tape, there's no pulling it too tight or anything. We can get it, nice and straight, and get the exact measurement. So we could repeat that measurement 100 times and get it exactly the same. Now, I will say that if you create an avatar and take your measurements, and then, a few minutes later, create another one and get your measurements, you will find a variance. And that is to be expected, because each avatar represents you at a particular point in time. And because of the level of accuracy that we're getting, it could all depend on, are you sucking your tummy in a bit? How far were you with your breathing? Are you breathing deeper, shallower? Anything like that would impact the measurements. Even though we're taking 4 photos and it's averaging across them, all of those would impact, which would make a difference in your actual body measurement. I wouldn't expect any huge variances, but there will be a small variance in there. And then you mentioned the DEXA scans as well. So DEXA is the gold standard when it comes to body composition, and it's absolutely brilliant. The only problem with the DEXA, or there's a few problems. One, finding places to do them, although that's becoming a bit easier nowadays. They're costly to do, and the DEXA scan is actually a low-dose X-ray radiation. Radiation scan, which it's fine if you're doing it infrequently, but if you want to track your progress and you're doing it weekly, probably not going to be the best thing for your health to do. But that said, it is still the gold standard, and that's where, whether you're looking at something like 3D Measure Me or you're looking at your bioimpedance scales or anything, they all compare to the DEXA scans. So with 3D Measure Me, we do provide like a body fat percentage in there, and that's based on a study which was done of about 700 people, male and female, aged between 20 and 60. So a good representation of the general population in there. And we actually got our body fat percentage from there. So it'll give you a body fat percentage within plus minus 5% accuracy for about 95% of the time. So it's actually really, really good when it comes to the general population. When you're looking at things like your bioimpedance scales, and when I talk about bioimpedance scales, I'm talking about the scales which give you body composition. They may be the ones where you've just got like 4 sensors and you stand on it, or some of them will have those 4 sensors, plus they've got a little hand part which you hold and it'll do the full body composition and that for you. Those ones, there's a huge number of studies on that, but they're ones, normally the body fat percentage in that will vary in accuracy from about plus minus 5% to about plus minus 10%. And if you have a look at our frequently asked questions on the website, we've actually got links to some of those studies to show you what's happening in there. But a lot of it depends on the data that they've used to actually train and to work out the equations and that. So they may be accurate for certain body types and not for others. Some scales just, underrepresented body fat percentages in some of these studies across the board. Other ones were overestimated when people were super fit and then underestimated when they were overweight or obese. So it really varies depending on the brand and the type of scale and how many sensor points and everything it's got. But I think for all of those, they're good to use, but they're handy for showing you a trend. I wouldn't rely on them for complete accuracy. And that's the same with our body fat percentage. I wouldn't rely on it for complete accuracy, but showing that trend and how you're going and how you're progressing and tracking is great. But that's where things like your body measurements are really good, because we do that and we know we're getting accuracy, we're getting over 99% accuracy with that. So suddenly you can say, okay, I know my body fat percentage is tracking in the right direction, but I know this is what my measurement is. And it kind of takes some of that guesswork and out of play. And people know, okay, yep, this is where I'm at and this is where I'm going to.
Yeah, no, the consistency makes it so much easier for my clients, who either are here locally with me or are over east or even overseas. And I give it to all of my clients to utilize in, a welcome email, because it just makes it so much easier. It really, really does. So what's next for 3D Measure Me? Do you see it evolving into a broader ecosystem that supports personalized nutrition or fitness or health diagnostics? Where is this tech heading in the next 12 to 18 months? Because I know it's not going to finish here, Bhavesh.
No, we're only just starting, so we've got a lot of things that we're currently planning and working on. Some of the exciting things that we're hoping will come out, within this year, is we'll actually have some research and some information on the actual body measurements and provide you some feedback directly on that. So, and put it just into the app. So we'll have like a little dashboard. So things like your abdomen measurement. We know there is research already that, if for males, if your abdomen measurement is over 102 centimeters, you're immediately classified as high risk for all your chronic diseases, like heart disease, diabetes, strokes, that sort of thing. Between 94 and 102 is increased risk, and below 94, you suddenly become low risk. So we're trying to incorporate some of those and work out what we can actually put in there, because there's other measurements like around sleep apnea where you look at throat, measurements and things like that. So we want to include a whole lot of that. We're also looking at things to get some of that more detailed body composition information in there. And, if we can work it out so we can get, visceral fat and other things like that, which are kind of key and important to measure and that, and add extra measurements in there, that would really be handy, I think, for a lot of people and make it interesting for them to track. But we're also building our whole partnership base as well, because we can do the measurements, and that's the part we're good at, and that's what we want to focus on. But the key part of that is also building up the right partnerships, like Metabolic Balance, who are actually our first partners that we've got on our website. And we're going to be working with certain selected key partnerships like that to actually help people who want to change the shape and want to get results and want to do it in a nice, healthy, sustainable way, to actually find the right people who can help them achieve their goals. And then we will be also looking to expand into fashion as well, to help people with this online returns and to make shopping that a little bit easier, so you don't have to try stuff on in the shop. You just scan a barcode and tell you, oh, you're going to be a size medium for that top, or small for that top, or whatever it is in there, and make life easier.
Because as we know, fashion, different sizes, you'll walk into one shop and you're this size, and you'll go to another shop and you're a different size, or so I think it's brilliant, because the despondency of, not even having to worry about sizing, to be honest. And you really touched on something very profound and very close to my heart, which is trying to educate and explain to people, yes, there's a certain weight that's on a scale. However, the abdomen, wherever, from, up here to down to the bottom of your hips, where all our beautiful organs lie, that's where we don't want any of that extra fat sitting in the organs. We've all seen those ads talking about what that type of fat does to our health. And if we can reduce that by reducing our centimeters or inches, how profound our health improves, and also reduces the risk, especially of things like metabolic dysfunction, plus many other things. So that's exciting for me, because it's more than just weight loss, as we all know. It's about being healthy and being in an optimal well-being to be able to have amazing longevity in life.
and keeping, all those years doing something that's sustainable and making sure that you can actually last and you have a healthy years, not just now, but in that future as well. As you get older, you want to be able to do everything that you plan to do, not be stuck at home because you can't move or can't do things because you didn't take the steps now.
Yeah, you've definitely started. I know this is who you are, and I've met your beautiful family, started an amazing legacy that is, I think, going to be quite a game changer, already has been, but even more so stepping forward into what opportunities and possibilities there are with 3D Measure Me and where it does head to. So I'm very grateful, Bhavesh, that you've had some time. I know you're a very busy man, to be here and have an amazing conversation, to understand, to know that there's someone real behind 3D Measure Me, and you are working with, Murdoch University as well, aren't you, to, get
yes,
all
we
this
are.
accuracy?
Yeah, so they helped us build all the technology in the back end and actually gave us access to the right professors to give us the information and help us problem solve and troubleshoot some of the areas we're having so we could actually get the level of accuracy that we needed. And we'll be going back to them as well as we continue doing all these studies and doing the research, because, what better place to do it than right here in WA? If we can work with Murdoch University, who already helped us get so far, we can get that, and it just goes to show with the results, because not only are we seeing those results, and myself, just from using Metabolic Balance as well, but, suddenly we're seeing people using the app. I think we just passed over 200,000 downloads of the app, and that's globally. So I think from 146 countries we've had that many. So it's not just something that we're interested here in WA. This is globally. People actually want these measurements and they want to be able to see it and track it, which is kind of exciting that we're doing it right here from WA.
Yeah, look, a lot of good things come out of WA in Australia. As we all know, we've got some pretty profound, expertise and everything like that, and talent coming out of WA. So thank you so much, Bhavesh. Is there anything else that you would like to impart on us before we finish up today?
No, thank you, Lisa, for having me. And look, just try it. That's the best thing, is that just try the app. If there's something that's not working, email us. I'm the one who checks every email at the moment. So if you just contact us through our webpage and that, I'm the one who checks it. I'm the one who responds. I will have a look and see, what's going on and that in there. But the biggest thing is that just try it. What have you got to lose? It's not going to cost you anything. Go for it.
I think it saves you a lot of frustration as well once it's all set up. And like you said, there literally is a video and a written step-by-step on how to do it. And I know that it's continually improving and getting better and better with every day that we have. So I'm very grateful that I was introduced to you, Bhavesh, and 3D Measure Me, because it's been absolutely profound for myself and for my clients.
Thank you, Lisa. It's been absolutely awesome meeting you and meeting your colleagues as well and your network and that, because I think I didn't realize how supportive everyone would be of what we were doing, and just the warmth and the helpfulness that I've got from you and all your colleagues has been fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah, you're more than welcome. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Bhavesh. And we'll put the link down below for the 3D Measure Me, but literally that's what it is 3D Measure Me, written on your gorgeous shirt. And thank you. And we look forward to, we'll touch base again and see what updates do happen, because I know this won't be the last bit of 3D Measure Me we see.
Definitely not.